Welcome back to another episode of the Tim Macy Show. And today I have my very good friend, Trey Serrano, on the call. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook or just about anywhere, you've probably seen his face because we do a ton of stuff together. Our family travels together. We do a lot of things in life together. And I haven't had him on the podcast because I talk to him every day. So I'm like, wasn't the first guy on my mind to talk to again because we talk all the time. But Trey's done so much in the last few years building his real estate business. And what's funny is like I always highlight him and I've always put the spotlight on him. And it's not because some of it's because we're great friends, but it's mostly because he just keeps executing and doing the things that we keep talking about. And he keeps coming out with stuff that's a great example for other agents to do. And so on today's call, on today's podcast, I am going to do my best to really get into how he does this, how he executes his business, and what makes him be the kind of executioner that he is, and maybe pull some stuff out of him that maybe I didn't know.
You can pull whatever you want out of me, bro. I give it all my secrets away.
Well, here we go. Here we go. And yeah, this will definitely be a fun one. Let's just say Trey and I's comfort level together is very high. So we're probably going to give each other a hard time.
Oh,
But
yeah.
after we have some fun, we will try to dive into some tactical stuff that really brings some value to the people that are listening. So Trey, look, for the people who don't know who you are, give me your kind of big picture overview of where you started, where you're at today, and kind of what the foundation of your business is.
Absolutely. So I would normally say, Tim, thanks for having me on, but it's you. So I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, I want to thank myself for giving my time to you. So thank Trey. And very long story short, so I was migrated here from South America when I was 3 years old, grew up in New York City. Our family did not have much money, grew up essentially Section 8. And a big part of my life was service. So I was a paramedic in New York City, became a cop, did 9 years in the police department, never had social media, never had a social media presence. I was deathly afraid of being found because of the stuff I did in the police department. And then in 2017, I had a really shitty experience with a realtor who was actually a cop's wife. Her name is Karen. Karen, if you're listening to this, I hope you get a paper cut. And terrible experience. And I said, you know what? If you're pushing papers and clicking stuff on the internet, like it can't be that hard, right? So got my real estate license. I figured to help a few buddies a year. And then the last 12 months of my police/real estate career, when I was doing both, I closed 55 homes. Had no idea what I was doing, but I was burning and turning. And 2023, we closed 106 as a team. Here I am.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I mean, it was funny meeting you in 2018, I think it was, and just seeing how many deals you were doing as a full-time police officer. I
Yeah.
was like, man,
I
this
was literally
guy
the worst cop on the street because, like, I wouldn't pull nobody over. Even, like, cops that work with me, they're like, "Are you gonna do anything today?" I'm like, "If you need help, bro, I got your back." If I hear that E tone, the emergency tone, like, "Bro, I'm
Yeah.
there." Anything else? No.
I love that. So, like, you make that transition to full-time real estate, and one of the big things is losing that safety net, right? Because you are a full-time police officer, you got full-time income coming in, you know exactly what you're making when you get paid, you got your health benefits. The job itself provides no stability because you don't know what you're going to walk into any day waking up, like
Mm.
different stuff all the time. But financial stability was definitely there. And so you traded for a much more stable occupation for a lot less stable finances. And so I guess talk to me about the mindset that you had when you left the department that you had going into real estate. What was that like mentally for you?
So it's kind of ironic because I would look at what I made up as a police officer, pension, 20 years, health benefits for life, similar to a VA retirement or so.
Yep.
And you see stability, like you said. But if you really, now that I think about it, being not a cop since 2020, it was really dumb to think that a 20-year police officer pension is going to sustain the lifestyle that I want for my family. So knowing now that I would have retired if I stood the course and made, I don't know, $2,500 a month in retirement at leaving it 20 years, that would have been like the probably more dangerous than it was just quitting and doing something else that I can scale and
Yeah.
leverage. So it's kind of ironic now thinking about that.
So you get out of the department, you go full time into real estate. And one of the things that you did was go full time into content. So creating content for real estate. I want to know, when you were getting started, what was the best piece of content that you made early on that made that light bulb go off, that like, hey, this works? And then
Mm,
also, I kind of want to know, like, what was the biggest mistake? What were you doing early on that you look back on, you're like, God, what was I thinking?
mm, mm. So I think honestly the best piece of content was when we did Yo San Antonio together. Like
That was good.
before I really dove into content, I was just kind of winging it, right? I'm like, I don't fucking know what to do. Like I'll just look at the backyard, look at the front yard. You could live here. I don't know. There's a kitchen. And I just didn't know. But once I started seeing other content creators, I was thinking that why collaborate with other agents? That makes no sense. The agents are in my market, they're my competition. I'm gonna beat them. And like they're stealing my clients. I had this old imposter syndrome. And then once we started doing content, this was back in 2019, maybe
Yeah.
2018. And it was like incredible because I grew my audience, you grew your audience, and we ended up doing more deals and
Yeah.
just business.
We even did movie theater events
Yeah,
together. We
we did
collabed
like
at client parties.
client
Yep.
appreciation parties. It was wild. Actually, to answer your question, that was the best piece of content was when I finally collaborated with you.
Me. No, I do think that is like that abundant switch when you flip it in your head is definitely a really powerful one, because you think about it, you got me thinking back to it now when we were more in production and we did those client events together. Like, I don't think doing a client event, collaborating with another agent to have your clients go to the same event, is that like, that sounds very foreign to a lot of people. But
Mhm.
when I look at the scale of what we were able to do on client events, it's only because we did it together. Like, we did bigger, better, badder client events. Like, we rented out that drive-in movie theater
Yeah,
peak
that was
COVID
awesome.
when nobody could leave the house. That was not one that I would have done by myself. You probably would have done by yourself. But if we did it together, we did this bigger, better event. And at the end of the day, I mean, come on. Like, none of my really posh, proper, great human clients are ever going to work with filthy Trey. None of Trey's filthy clients are going to work with me.
That's
Kidding,
right. Mhm.
kidding. We're just making jokes here. But I mean, I make a joke, but it's serious.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come to that event and be like, Tim invited me to this movie theater event, but I don't know, this Trey guy, I think I'm going to call him next time.
Yeah.
Of course not. And so, yeah, that was awesome. So, next thing on that, what was the worst content you were doing?
I think the worst content is honestly just doing what everybody else is doing. I used to consume a lot of content from realtors to get ideas, and none of those videos ever got me business, or I mean, not none, but very little of them. And it just didn't feel like I was speaking to my client, future client. So I think that was really the worst. To think of a specific one, oh man, I've done so much pieces of content. I can't think of a
In so many videos, yeah. Talk to me about starting the YouTube channel and give
Hmm.
me some context too. How many leads would you estimate you're getting from your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so we did our numbers for the business plan this year, and last year we did 46 closings just from YouTube leads direct. Like that's somebody reaching out, "Hey, I saw you on YouTube, following your channel. I'll be there
Yep.
Friday. Got pre-approved. Let's go."
So about half of your business comes from your YouTube channel.
Yep.
Okay. So talk to me about starting that. What was that like, starting that YouTube journey for yourself?
So a common theme that you'll hear throughout this is just to trust the process. So I would go to Tom Ferry events and
Yeah.
Video Blueprint and all these meetups essentially with realtors, creators, and I see the most successful ones that have this great story. Like I started from nothing And now I'm closing whatever deals a year and straight from YouTube. So I started with the imposter syndrome and thinking like, well, Tim has a YouTube channel in San Antonio. Like there's no way I'll be able to do
Right.
as good a video as Tim.
Yeah.
I'm totally kidding because yours was the worst. But at least you were out there. And
But no, I will say, just for the record for listeners, San Antonio, I think, has more agents on YouTube than any other market I've seen. We have a
oh yeah.
ton of agents on YouTube. And so when Trey was deciding to do this YouTube thing, it's not because there was this big opportunity that there weren't that many agents. There was a ton of
Oh
competition
yeah.
on YouTube. And so I kind of want to just set the stage with that because it's important.
And I think it's like some quote unquote guru of selling a YouTube course to all the brokerages. So there was like at least 100 plus YouTube channels moving to San Antonio, living in San Antonio. So there was one guy, I'm not gonna say his name, but he had the highest amount of subscribers and the most amount of views. And he was like on his high horse. I actually reached out to him a few times and I just said, like, hey man, can you like do you train? Can I pick your brain? Can I get something from you just to know how your journey was? Because I'm looking to start this and I just don't know really where to start. He ignored me. So now I have more subs and have more views than him. But yeah, and so far I have the largest YouTube channel in San Antonio. But the journey when I started was I was like, okay, I got this green screen, which is what I hear people doing, and I started recording videos, and they were terrible. Like if you ever go on my channel, go to the like beginning, the bottom, and see like the randomness videos, the food reviews, like completely unrelated to what people actually search. And then started my first couple of videos, and then for 7 months, I did a video a week consistently. I had 0 people reach out to me for 7 months, did a video a week, and finally got my first lead.
And then what?
Oh, okay. So let's go back to the first couple of videos because I think that's important because that is where most people turn away, right? Like
Yeah.
you get 100 realtors in a room, if you go all their YouTube channels, most of them will have between 200 to 500 subscribers. And it's usually like, hey, I share my channel, subscribe to my channel, or like, hey, let me get your phone and
They're
subscribe.
pushing it out there. They're trying to get people to
Right.
subscribe. Yep.
Yes. Which that's what I did because I just wanted like a higher amount of views and more people equals more business, I think. So I just made all the mistakes that you could make, but I trusted the process. I trusted the process that the more information that's relevant to people that you put out there, the more business you're going to get. And then I just trusted it. And dude, I'm telling you, like my wife was like, you're paying this videographer $500 a video to come to our house, record it, edit it, and bust it out. And we haven't seen any business from it. Like, are you sure this is going to work? And I
Yeah.
said, I have no idea if this is going to work, but I think it is. And yeah, and then 7 months later, got it. And then it was pretty consistent after that. I would get a few people a month, then it turned into 1 or 2 people a week. And now
It's a
obviously it
lot.
was about half my business.
So one thing too is what I love about your journey is how bad your videos were to start.
Mm.
And I remember calling you up and giving you a hard time. Like, dude,
Oh
you,
yeah.
you made this, like you made this video about school districts. Did you even research it? I think you said the wrong thing. Like, what, dude?
Oh
What are we
man.
doing here? No, yeah, you gotta step up the quality of not the quality of your content, like getting a better camera, right? Because that's what everybody thinks about stepping up the quality of your content by getting a better setup. Like, no. Being able to like research more and speak better about the topic that you're talking about is what's more important than having a good camera. What I do love in San Antonio is there is this one lady, I don't know if she's still making videos, but she was doing well, at least from when I was watching. And she was literally like just on Zoom and just going through the map. And it was the most low tech video I've ever seen. But it's the way she talked about the market that people were like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. She seems like she really knows this area. And that's what I bet was generating her views, engagement, and eventually business. So talk to me about that because your videos now look a lot better than your videos used to. So tell me about that quality journey how did you improve your content as you went?
My video quality was okay, but I wasn't preparing as I should. So idea. I was like, these people who have very successful channels don't know what they're talking about. I want to look good on camera. So I did the videographer thing, had him edit it, super professional, but I didn't prepare enough for these videos. Cause, if I ask whoever's listening to this, if I ask you about your town and where you live, like obviously where like all the good neighborhoods are, where all the things are, and you'll have great information to share with people. So when when the videographers say, hey, let's do a video about school districts, I'm like, oh, that's easy. I know about the school districts. I know where they are. So I'll just record. I'll be all right. And I just did some little footnotes. Done. It was a terrible idea because I got called out in the comments. And they're like, no, dumbass, it's not Castle Hills. It's this. It's not Hollywood Park. It's Stone Oak. And it's not part of the city. And they were right. And I'm like, oh man. So once I got called out, you called me out and I asked a few other people, like, he's like, yeah, you should really do more research. So more important than the quality of the video is the relevancy and accuracy of the information.
I love that. So you start doing that. You start researching more. What else did you do and again, I think when people are starting a YouTube channel, I have these conversations all the time with agents. I know you do too, because you're not like that agent that you call when somebody hits you up about start a YouTube channel. You usually will answer their questions and talk to them. Agents are all over the place when they're like, hey, I want to do a YouTube channel. And it's hard to focus them on the most important things that they need to do to start a YouTube channel. And so if you are trying to focus an agent to get them started on creating a YouTube channel that's going to generate them business, where do you focus them? Like, what do you think is the thing that they should really be hammered in on?
A year ago, people would say you need 4 buckets. You need different things. You do model homes, do neighborhood tours, do market updates, do coming soon, do pros and cons. Like they would say, you got to have all the buckets. But I don't think that's relevant anymore. And I think that people just want consistency in the information that you put across in your channels. So now I only have 2 buckets. And number 1 is neighborhoods. And number 2 is market updates. And of course, just disclaimer, never, ever, ever, ever name your videos market updates, because that is, you might as well just not record
It's
a video.
boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's boring.
So those are my main 2 buckets. And I've actually gone YouTube live now more frequent. And I'm getting emails like, dude, what are you going to talk about on YouTube live this week? Or like, hey, can you email me when you go live? Because I really want to listen. And now I'm getting like direct business from going YouTube live, which is bananas.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I think what happens is we do the content bucket thing because we don't know where to start. So it makes it easier a little bit to have a framework of buckets. So I know what content I should be making. Oh, I haven't done the neighborhood profile bucket. So I'm going to do a neighborhood profile. It makes that question of what video should I make a little bit easier to answer. I think the next level of what Trey's talking about and where he's at is when you just know your audience well enough, where you're constantly having ideas of what's going to work on your channel. And that's where you want to get to. Like when you grow an audience, it's great. But when you grow an audience and you really know that audience and you're like, oh, dude, I'm going to post this and it's going to crush it. Oh, this is a great topic. Like that's when you can start getting away from those buckets, because you're kind of moving past that to just hammer in on content that your audience is going to love.
Yeah. And I think that agents now, once you present them just fewer options, they tend to do better. And like you tell them like, no, obviously the audience is typically like, where's the best place to live and where should I stay away from? That's pretty much the 2 that most people do. And then to retain the audience, you want to keep them updated on what's going on in those areas. To me, that's the 2 best buckets. So that's what I'd focus the channel on. And the feedback of people that are watching the comments, that's typically what they say. They ask about areas, and then what's going to change in those areas.
Let's talk about building an audience. So we talk about the 2 most important things on YouTube. If you're building a channel, there's so many rabbit holes you can go down and it gets so complicated, but it can also be very simple. And when I break it down in its simplest form, we care about click-through rate and audience retention. Click-through rate and audience retention. When your video comes up, do people click on it? That's one of the number 1 challenges with making a YouTube channel, is having a compelling thumbnail and title that people actually click on. And if you can solve that problem and get great thumbnails and titles, then you need to make a video that people actually watch the whole thing. And if you can nail click-through rate and audience retention, you will build an audience because YouTube will show your videos to more people. So that sounds very simple. What things do you think about when it comes to click-through rate, audience retention, and building an audience?
So I have done less of hooks and like the baity stuff. It's more of just what I think is relevant. And I just give as much just meat that I can without the fluff. So like
Yeah.
now I look at every single word I say throughout the video and I say less things like, I mean, just for us talking about this and people listening. So, like, you say, look at this beautiful living room. It has such natural light. Instead of saying something like that, I'll say, look at the quartz countertops with the double pane windows and the plank flooring. So it's much more specific instead of using the fluff words. And I think
Yeah.
knowing better information is going to retain the audience because you sound like you know what you're talking about. Because honestly, I think when people hear fluff or look at this city's burning down, and then you go into something random, that's where your audience retention is going to go down because they're like, this guy just wanted me to click on this thing. And they're just going to click out of it.
Yeah, it's funny you said that about the words you're using because like Raj in Austin is doing a very simple style of video. He's doing home tours and he's just doing a voiceover. And I've got an agent who does a very similar style and he's been doing it for almost as long as Raj has. And he's not getting anywhere near the results. And they're so similar. Like they're really, really close. Thumbnails close, titles, all the things. The thing that's different is what you just said. When Raj does it, he's highly informative and his words are concise and informative. And when my other agent's doing it, he's selling the house like a real estate agent. He's like, this is by far the finest floor plan I've ever seen come from Perry Homes with the beautiful open windows and the natural light pours through the thing. And it's like, dude, people are out. People like listening to that highly informative person with a very neutral voice where they just can't help but listen to the thing. And so your tone and the words you use is very underrated important.
Oh, it's extremely underrated because people have this, okay, I got to reach that 8-minute mark or I got to reach the 10-minute mark. So they put fluff in there, but actually I put out videos that are 4 or 5 minutes just because I'm like, you know what? I hit the points and I got
That's it.
right to the point and it's only 4 minutes. Oh, well, screw it. Post it.
Yeah, I mean, people ask me the question all the time of how long should your videos be? And my answer should be that. My answer should be as long as they're entertaining and interesting for. Like if you're being concise and you're right to the point and your pace is going and you sum it up in 5 or 6 minutes and that's a good video, it's 5 or 6 minutes. But maybe you're talking about something that's a little bit more in depth and it's something else and you got a lot more going on. Maybe it's a 20-minute video. Who cares? I think we found a lot of success in that 7 to 18-minute video for a lot of our informational YouTube channels. But at the end of the day, you're 1,000% right. If you nail it in 5 minutes and that's it, that's it. Like don't get caught up on, oh, I need to make this thing 8 minutes long.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't stress that enough. The two biggest takeaways is to get through the click through rate and retention is you got to have something that is, it kind of sums up the value that they're going to get from your video from the thumbnail and title. And then the retention is whatever you say through the video, just make sure that you catch yourself once you say like beautiful, wonderful, lovely, great, like all those fluff words just don't resonate to people because it's been played out and it should
Yeah.
be just facts about the thing. And what I relate it to is like if you go to an open house, right? Like if like you and I have been to Colorado with our families, like if we decided to
Yeah.
walk into a $1 million house just to see it, if the
Which we
agent
do.
is like, look how lovely the floor is, like, motherfucker, like, yes, I know what beautiful is, but tell me about the floors. Are they heated? Are they not heated? Look at the windows. Like, does it open on their own? Like, is there a remote control thing? Like, and just entice me with the information so I can make my own decision. The sales boundary is where you start to convince somebody that it's beautiful versus telling them beautiful things about it. Then
Yeah.
they'll come to the decision on their own.
I don't know if this is a good comparison, but I think when we are selling a house, right? When we're the listing agent on a house, we like to use fluff words. We like to figure out how to make this house interesting. But when we have our buyer going through the house and we're explaining the house to our buyer, I think we're much more concise. We're much
Okay.
more to the point and direct. And so I think it's like that range is taking that on and doing it more like you're talking to your buyer, not like you're a listing agent trying to sell the house on the internet.
Dude, we can go on such a rabbit hole with like words because I love words. And okay, so when I see listing videos that say, and I've been guilty of this myself, listing videos that say, look at my newest listing at 123 Main Street here in the blah, blah, blah area. And it's like the fact that you said my listing already turned me off because I know you're
Yeah.
just trying to sell it to me. Like you were literally hired to sell this damn house and you're making a video about it. Like, obviously, you're going to tell me the great things. So I never say anymore, my newest listing, because as soon as you say that, it's already you're selling. But if you say, check out this house at 123 Main Street, it has this, but it doesn't have this, you could do this. Like now you're starting to showcase the house in its truest form.
YouTube at a peak, which is people want the inside scoop. They want the information. If I'm going to buy a car, I go to YouTube. And if I'm going to buy a BMW, like a white BMW, like every other real estate agent buys, like I'm not going to go watch BMW's video about the BMW. I'm
Yes.
going to go watch the guy that is like the car expert that's going to give me the inside scoop on why the BMW is good and why it's bad. And like, he's the real deal, honest take. And it's the same thing with real estate. Even if it's your listing and you want to just talk about how great it is, like to me, the way to connect to the audience is to be the inside scoop, is to be the one that's got the inside intel and is giving people the honest take that they can't get anywhere else. And so the video, like, welcome to my listing at 123 Main Street. You're like, okay, this is watching the BMW video from BMW. When you're like, hey, so there's this house, it's coming up on this side. And I don't know, but over there, they've got some things going on. Like I'm giving you that that was a bad example, but like
No,
the
absolutely.
approach, just that little approach just makes all the difference.
Yes, exactly. And it's funny because I listened to the whole Cybertruck Tesla thing and they're telling me about the megahertz and pull rates. And I have no idea what that means, but I am
Yeah.
intrigued. Like I want to hear those facts that I have no idea what they're saying, but the fact that they're saying them makes me stay on the video. Obviously, it's like one little scroll, half a scroll for me to click into another video that's YouTube. Like, oh, you don't like that one? Like, try this one. This one's probably better. But I don't because he's just so knowledgeable about the house that I think that's what a lot of agents like. If they did that one tweak, the one tweak of watching what they say and just approaching it like, what would I think if I watch this? And it'd be a game changer.
We always say, and I kind of grabbed it from a Mr. Beast interview. I don't think he said it exactly, but it's where it kind of inspired it. Was this idea of 10% improvements giving you 10x results? And you've had, like, I love your coming to San Antonio video. It's Trey's face, it's Elon Musk and the Alamo in the middle. And you're watching that. You're like, what's coming to San Antonio? Is Elon coming to San Antonio? There's so much curiosity in that thumbnail. And then you click on that video and Trey just goes through all of the developments that are coming to San Antonio. And I don't know how you did it. I'm assuming you just went to the Business Journal, you went to some local news places, and you just went into the real estate section and just grabbed all the public information, which is these developments that are getting done. And he just made a video where he went through 12 of them. And that video outperformed his other videos by a long shot, by a long shot. But it wasn't 10 times better. It was like 10% better.
Mhm.
But just these little tweaks in how you talk on the video, how you set up your thumbnail, how the title is. Like if you're not trying to make these little 10% improvements, you'll never get the 10x results.
Right.
And so I love that about your journey is you've constantly made and you're constantly making
Still.
these little
Yeah.
tweaks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still making these tweaks and I'm still learning from my audience. I'm learning from how much business we're getting versus how many, like when we do get business, somebody says, "Hey, I saw your video. I'm buying a house, whatever." Then I ask them like, "Well, what was it about the video that made you want to reach out?" So like the recent tweak I did is I don't say anymore. I used to say, "Hey, if you're looking around to move to San Antonio, we'd love to help," or something like that. But now I say, "We want to be your realtors of choice," because I've had people come up to me and say, "Actually, I got like Costco, like, hey man, you're the guy from YouTube," and literally it's happening every
It
week.
does. It's my favorite thing when
Yeah,
somebody hits them up in
yeah.
Costco. It recognizes them.
We were at a restaurant, and someone was like, "Oh, you're the guy from,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Listen, you're the guy from YouTube should be everybody's YouTube goal. Like
yeah,
when you make a YouTube channel about your local area, you want somebody at some point to stop you and say, you're the guy from YouTube. Then like the 4 episodes we did about the restaurants and stuff locally, we got that a couple times.
yeah, we
And
did.
then we stopped doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny.
And but what I've noticed is like, why aren't they reaching out to me? Like I'm not trying to make a living off YouTube. I want you to reach out to me because I'm the most knowledgeable, right? That's what I want for what people to get. So now I've tweaked it at the end. I say, we'd love to be the realtor of choice, your realtor of choice. And that I'm hoping that people's like, no, okay, he's making these videos to get me to call him. And I don't do it in the beginning. I know a lot of people do it. I do it at the very end, at the like literally the last couple seconds. And it's just a
Yeah.
very quick little snippet and then the video's over.
Yeah, I think it's so important that you don't market yourself at the beginning. I look at it when I'm starting a video off is that I'm earning the audience's attention. If you make a video, I've got the beginning of the video, the middle of the video to earn their attention that they'll watch the whole thing. And then at the end of the video, if they've watched your whole 8-minute video or they're at 7:45, yeah, like you've earned the right to say, hey, and just so you know, like we run the cavalry group here in San Antonio, and we'd love to be your first choice when thinking about buying or selling a home in San Antonio. But when you start with that, you pretty much said, hey, like this content's about me. It's for me. I make this content to make money. And thanks for watching. And that's the thing, the difference is.
Yeah. And I saw, and I try to look at what other people do. And I hate doing that because then you get in this, so like, well, everybody's doing it this way. But I just think of like when I plan a vacation, and I watch these YouTube videos. The second that they start telling me like, my office is in downtown, if you want to, please reach. I'm like, oh God damn it. And I get angry.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's why I said, you know what? I'm doing so many videos anyway. Like eventually they'll get to the end of one of them. And finally, when they get to the end, that's when I'll ask for the business.
Yeah.
And I've even had realtors tell me like, I watch your video so I know what to say to my client. I'm like, great. Glad it helps.
Oh, that's hilarious. No, I think that's great. I think one thing too is this is a change, like acknowledging that it's a change in perspective, because all the time when we look at the marketing and advertising that we've done, we've always talked about having a good call to action. Because if I send a postcard, I'm hoping that the postcard makes somebody call me. But one of the big light bulb moments for me, I don't know where I heard it, but with YouTube, when you get somebody to watch your YouTube video, the goal is not to get them to call you when the video is done. The goal of a YouTube video is to get them to watch another one of your videos. And
Yes.
so you want the pace of that video, you want the ending of that video, you want it to seamlessly roll into them watching another one of your videos, because then they've gone down the rabbit hole. They've watched 6 of them. They've been watching you for 5 hours now. Like you're their agent. If you've done it by doing that. And I think that's a tweak too, is we're like, hey, how am I supposed to get leads if I'm not telling people to call me on this video?
Yeah. There's definitely a way to do it. And for anybody watching this, you just like, please trust the process if you do videos and you lead with the value, like not just saying you lead with value and saying like, oh, I'm a real estate agent, I'm giving you videos, like that's value. No, it's not. Look at the information you're putting across. Like you said, that Elon video I did, they got like 80,000 views. I
Yeah.
did like 11 news articles, plus I went on site on some things. I went like completely above and beyond what any normal person would think to do, and not thinking that it would get that much. But I just watched every second. I'm like, okay, how can I make this better? How can I make this better?
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of Mr. Beast, he said in an interview, he said, you have to not only deliver, but you have to over deliver. So this time, so when your next video comes out and somebody's actually subscribed or not subscribed, then they're going to know that you're going to deliver and then over deliver the information. So
Yeah.
once I heard that, I'm like, oh my God, because obviously people aren't going to transact every year or every month, right? It's going to be every couple of years, but you want to make sure that the video you're putting out is better than the last one, not quality, but just informational, and the relevancy is going to be there, and knowing your audience. That's why I'm always constantly studying to make sure that the next one, people are like, oh man, I got to click on that one because the last video he did was really good.
Yeah. And I mean, man, Mr. Beast is such a good example. Like if you've been following and watching his stuff, like he's always trying to one up himself in the quality of the videos and the stuff that he's doing. One other thing though, is you talked about delivering. And I know that when agents start looking at thumbnails and titles, the word always comes up, and the word is clickbait. They're like, this looks like clickbait. I don't want to do clickbait. And I can tell you right now, we don't want you to do clickbait either,
Correct.
because something is clickbait when you put out this thumbnail and this title, and then you click on it and it does not follow through and deliver on the promise you made in the thumbnail and title. So give me like a little perspective on how you look at thumbnails and titles.
So, I mean, you want to really do and spend some time on the thumbnail and title. And it's just like, you don't want to beg people to click on it. I know it sounds a little weird saying it because I'm kind of like, you want people to click on it. So why would I say that you don't want it to seem like? Because if you make multiple exclamation points or like the all caps rage to somebody looking at that thumbnail before they're about to click it, at least in my mind, I'm thinking this person is begging me to click on this. So the video must suck because they're begging me to click on it. Like the best videos don't really beg you to click on it. It's just like, hey, this is the accurate information and it speaks for itself.
I think where you're getting at is not clickbait, where you're doing stuff to, like you said, beg people to click on it. I think it's more curiosity. You
Yes.
want to make people curious with your thumbnails. And that's where people put a lot of words on thumbnails. And some of the best thumbnails have no words on them. And
Yes.
the reason is because like there's a lot of stuff going on in this thumbnail, and it doesn't tell me everything that's in the video. It makes me curious to know what's in the video. So I'll click it. Like you're coming to San Antonio. I keep going back to this example. You're coming to San Antonio video. Literally, the title was Coming to San Antonio. And it was Trey, Elon, and the Alamo was on the thumbnail. Like coming to San Antonio. What is coming to San Antonio? My
Like,
mind is going.
why
I'm
is
like,
Elon and this realtor on the thumbnail at the Alamo?
yeah,
Like what
right.
is going on? Just building the curiosity instead of begging for them to click on you is exactly what I was trying to say.
You could have taken that video and you could have said San Antonio developments in the works in 2023. Like you could have told the audience exactly what the video was about, which is what our mindset tends to be around making the title of a video. Instead, you said coming to San Antonio, which doesn't really tell me what the video is about. It just makes me more curious to find out what the
Right.
video is about. And so, I think agents can get distracted. We talk about this a lot too, with tags and SEO and like keyword search and all this other stuff. And they go down this rabbit hole of trying to make an SEO friendly title, and they're absolute crap and their videos suck and they don't perform. Instead, it's like, you just got to think about the person that's on YouTube and what title and thumbnail is going to make them curious that they can't help but click on that video.
Mhm.
So it's a different perspective, I think, than what people hear a lot.
Clickworthy is a good one versus clickbait. Or, I mean, to me, curiosity is everything. Like if you look at my channel, my thumbnails are pretty like bold, and the titles is just very simple. It's like there's no exclamation points, there's no capital letters, and I like that's my thing is just building the curiosity. And like I think the last one I did is major developments coming to San Antonio in 2024. Like, well, is that good developments? Is it bad developments? Is it something changing? There's a lot of like, wait, I got to watch this. And then once
Yeah.
they click on it, the first 5 seconds is information, 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 and then go right into it. Because I want the retention there and I want them to stay because even if they don't have time to watch it now or if they share it, but like a lot of the clicks and retention, I go to my analytics is from YouTube. YouTube is pushing out my information without me
Yeah.
having to do anything because they know it's relevant to the audience that I've already built.
It's funny when we're doing reels or Instagram or TikTok, we talk about that hook in the first 3 seconds of the video. You got to hook them.
Yeah.
YouTube, it's almost like the first 30 seconds of the video. You have to hook them. You have to hit them with great information. But you know what I mean? Hook. I don't mean like the traditional hook. I mean great information packed that's very concise in the first 30 seconds for people like, oh my goodness, this guy knows his stuff. I want to listen to the rest of this thing.
Yes. Hook's a funny word because obviously everyone says hook, but you don't want to necessarily hook them. You want to have them curious enough to stay. I don't know what word we can use.
Yeah.
But
I love curiosity, man. Curiosity is
I think
my word for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, because I've seen how many realtors are like, 10 biggest common mistakes and blah, blah, blah. And it just like,
It feels like a pitch.
Huh?
Yeah. It feels like a pitch.
It does. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just been thinking of how can I make the person watching this curious enough to stay?
We're going back to it, but tone, right? Tone of you're on an Instagram, you're like, here are the 10 tips that you need to know to buy a house in today's market in San Antonio. Let me start with number 1. It's like I'm a real estate agent on TikTok selling.
Yeah.
And it's like instead, just the subtle change of, hey, there are 10 really important things that you should be looking at if you're entering the market to buy a home in San Antonio. And I want you to know, starting with number 1. Like, this is me talking to a bunch of people, trying to just talk to as many people as possible to try to sell this thing. But if I'm here and I'm just talking to you one-on-one and I'm giving you my honest take in just this tone difference, I think one thing I love following Casey Neistat. He's from my hometown. He's one of my favorite vloggers, one of the OGs in YouTube. And Pon and I talk about it all the time. Like, he has this ability to get in front of the camera. When he talks to it, you feel like he's talking right to you.
Dude, I feel like you're talking
millions of views,
Yeah.
Right? Millions of views on his videos, but he's talking right to you. And that's that tone difference that really sucks people in. It's like Malcolm Lawson crushes it on YouTube. And so much of it is his tone where he gets on this video and the tone that he speaks to the video in just sucks you in like he's talking right to you.
Yeah. I think, too much of the showmanship is not the best because you start to sound pitchy. But once you kind of break it down and have your thoughts and even some imperfections, I think it will resonate and just have more authenticity in it.
I love it. All right. So look, we were kind of all over the place. Sometimes I like to try to go into these things with the organized framework of how the conversation is going to go. Then other times it's a little all over the place. Today, I think we had some good value in there, but it was a little all over the place.
It was.
To agents out there that are maybe scratching the surface on starting a YouTube channel, doing content, everything else, you are on the other side of the fence. You've gone down this journey, 100 houses a year, half of your business coming from YouTube, great warm leads, hitting your email every day. What's the thing you would tell that person that wants to build that out over the next year or two to get there? What's the thing you would tell them to maybe drive them in a way that they're not going right now?
I think you're essentially trying to climb a mountain. And if you think of it that way, and I'm thinking of our friend Chris Benjamin, he's literally climbing a mountain right now. You have to train you for this. You have to do it, and then you keep going with it, but it never ends. Like if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to start a YouTube channel to get business, and then I'm going to have 10,000 subscribers, and I'm just going to get the business. Like it never ends. So you have to focus on the process and trust the process, and it never stops. Like I'm, here, if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to gloat for a second. Just going to be like, ooh, look at me. 13,000 subscribers, over 100, probably 150 homes closed directly for business of YouTube, having to compete with hundreds of channels in San Antonio. I am still looking at these videos, tweaking, changing, getting better. And I have the largest channel. So like I could stop, but I can't because it's just an ever, I look at obviously the extreme example, Mr. Beast, he's still tweaking and changing. So be comfortable with the changes and improving. And that is how your channel is going to, or so the channel growth in business is a byproduct of what the actual focus on the process is.
I heard Alex Hormozy said is when it gets easy, you go hard.
Yep.
And what happens is you build these channels and look, this is me. I'm speaking about myself is I put a couple of these videos on YouTube, pros and cons. I live in San Antonio, a couple neighborhood profiles, best place to live downtown. Like, I don't know, 10 of these videos. And guess what? Leads started coming in and I stopped. I was like, oh, good. I made the videos. That's going to make the business and now get business. And if you stop when it gets easy, it goes away.
Yep.
But when it starts getting easy and the leads start going in and you go in harder is when this stuff blows up. I look at Ken Posick, who's literally, I mean, that dude could have punched out and stopped improving his channel years ago and he still would do fine. But instead, as everything comes in, it makes him go more in. It makes him go more in. It makes you go more in and you go more in. You hire a full-time videographer now. Now you're putting out a ton of content on TikTok, Instagram, all the places.
Yeah.
Because when it goes easy, when it gets easy, go hard.
The more established your channel, the bigger the moves. And it's a never ending process. So if you don't love the process, then maybe it's not for you, but you have to just love the big pivots and it'll be forever business. Just how much business do you want?
You know what? That's a great point. Like if you just want to do YouTube to get some business from it, but you don't want to like be a nerd about YouTube. You don't want to learn all these things. You don't really want to dig into the analytics. You don't want to do all that stuff. I would probably avoid it because you're not going to find some service that's going to build a YouTube channel for you. You can find services that help, but you're never going to find a service that just does it all for you. And so it's super important that you are ready to be an absolute nerd about YouTube and everything and really get in the weeds on it if it's going to be something that you build into something successful.
Yep.
Listen, best place for people to connect with you.
Instagram.
All right, listen, go find Trey on Instagram. Just so you know, Trey's also going to be at the Real Estate Video Blueprint. And for the first time in Real Estate Video Blueprint, he's not giving a keynote.
Nope.
He's our only two-timer, both years. But this year, I mean, not that you haven't kept crushing it and kept just conquering the world. We just got to get new people.
Dude, I want to learn. Like I will be.
I know, yeah.
And I will be soaking it all in.
I love it.
There are people that do way more than I do, and I'm excited to be there, excited to learn. And honestly, like I know I haven't figured it all out, but what I have figured out, I'm happy to share.
I love that. And that's what I love about that 2-day in Houston. It's like, that's the community that everybody has. Everybody's an open book. Everybody's curious about what other people are doing. And there's not a lot of ego in that room. There's usually just a lot of collaboration. So I'm excited to see you there. I'm probably excited to see you. I don't know, at some point when we hang out with each other, but I'm excited to see you in Houston and hopefully we'll get some other people out.
Sounds good, man.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks.
Trey, thanks for hopping on and we'll see you on the next episode.